first speaker today is going to be Sean Patton. Now, Sean has taken over the Youth Physical Fitness program for us. And as we talked about the banquet last year, throughout this year, we're trying to reinstitute this, get this back. COVID did a job on everything. I don't know who's in charge of COVID. Wasn't this country, I know that. So we're trying to bring everything back. It's true. And this is one of our programs that we're trying to bring back now to make it strong. Our program, the Youth Physical Fitness Program, is a Marine Corps League program. Johnny Baker, I know, has spoken very well of this many times. Is Sean here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, hi, Sean.
Morning.
There you go. Oh.
Morning, Marines. It's been a minute since I had an opportunity to speak to an established group like this. Thank you very much for giving me just a little bit of your time. I'm going to try to be short and sweet. You'll have the opportunity to present some questions or comments if you like, and I'll try to stick around for a few minutes afterwards to take any other offline comments that anybody might have. But I was asked to speak very briefly about the YPF program. I'm just going to call it YPF for short to keep things moving along. But before I do a little bit about me, Sean Patton, retired from the Marine Corps about 1.5 years ago, did 20-something years as a JAG officer, and now retired back to Pennsylvania where I'm from. Okay, so that's where I'm headquartered out of. Seems like 3/4 of the guys I met today are also from that neck of woods. Good area to be from. How you doing, Mr. Chairperson? So the YPF program, I'm sure most of you are at least have some passing familiarity with it. You remember it from when you were a kid in school back in the day. You had something to do with it as a recruiter during your time on active duty. Maybe you've been to one of the regional or national meets. But basically, it's an opportunity for the Marine Corps to get into schools, a recruiting opportunity, but also an opportunity to help young people stay motivated, stay away from drugs, stay fit, have some opportunities and different lifestyle options thrown their way, and hopefully be introduced to some mentors that they can carry with them through the course of their lives. I got some slides. Oh, there's that beautiful headshot. See over there? All right, you can recognize it from the side. I only have a few slides, don't worry, I'm not going to kill you. Because I just recently took this role, okay? So I'm only learning myself. Most of you guys have already forgotten more about Marine Corps League and everything else that I'm going to know. But I've just picked this up. So I've divided up my thoughts into two buckets. First bucket is short-term, second bucket is long-term. I like to keep it simple. My short-term priorities are to make sure that the national meet, which is held in May, goes swimmingly. And there are some things that need to be done in order to make sure that that happens. But luckily we have a trusted agent in Little Rock, which is the same place where we did last year's national meet. And we're just going to try to rinse and repeat the main portions of last year's successful event. So this year we are going to have the YPF National Meet on the 18th of May in Little Rock at the Arkansas Military First Responders Academy in West Little Rock. That's an organization run by a uniformed active duty Lieutenant Colonel Marine who has a retired Sergeant Major as a senior enlisted advisor. And they do a pretty cool thing there where they teach high school students who are interested in being first responders or interested in going in the military. They teach them some cool skills. So I didn't even know that facility existed, but that's where we're going to be running our national meet this year in West Little Rock. And inside my slides, the link to my website or the Marine Corps League's website, my page on the Marine Corps League's website is buried on this third slide and on the first slide. And more information is available at that page, and I'm going to continue to build that page out with more helpful information. So, short-term goals again: organize and execute the national meet, which happens in the middle of May. Continue to support established state and regional meets. So in order to qualify for nationals in Arkansas in May, you're supposed to be doing a state or regional meet during the spring and get some qualifying scores and so on and so forth, checking all the boxes, making sure that you qualify to go to nationals. We're going to cast as broad of a net as we can because we are currently in the process of trying to grow this program. So long as any program, as far as I'm concerned, has a reputable leader and they have a team that wants to go, we're going to try to get them there. Okay, so right now, there are a lot of JROTC teams who are participating, and there are only a few public high school teams that are participating. I don't anticipate the JROTC subscription falling off, but the public school subscription keeps falling off. One thing comes up, we're going to figure that out, and again, I'll get to that in my long-term slides, but there's going to be about a dozen or 15 teams at nationals. They are supposed to have competed at a state or regional meet that we support indirectly, and through the district staffs and the divisional staffs, they are supposed to be supporting those local meets. And then to make sure that the word is all getting out there, migrate the materials that we have for YPF from the YPF Foundation's website over to the Marine Corps League's website, and that link is right there. It's a little bit of a doozy. Can you see it there? A little bit of a doozy, but if you Google Marine Corps League Library and YPF, it'll take you right to my page, which is 3 or 4 clicks deep on the Marine Corps League's page. So that's our short-term goals, and those things are all tracking along nicely. Again, very convenient that we have a trusted agent there in Little Rock helping us make this year, as I transition myself into the role, he's helping us make sure that I don't miss any beats. All right, so that's that for the short term. And then moving over to the long term, this is where things get a little bit trickier, because my real charter here is to attempt to regrow the program back to where it was in the past. In the past doesn't mean just before COVID, it means before cell phones and before sports became all-encompassing and before kids had other things to do, which might prove to be a little bit of a bridge too far, but we're going to give it help. And we're going to see what we can do to get into some schools and see if we can't get some programs to come out and compete with us on the state and regional and national level. In order to do that, number 2 bullet is probably one of my most important bullets that I want to get out here today to this audience. We're going to need to identify and train a motivated representative from each division to work with me. I provide them information, they provide me information, but ultimately they take charge of those state and regional meets to the extent that they don't already exist. We brainstorm and tailor solutions for those particular divisions on how we can get back into the schools. We're not going to be looking for a one-size-fits-all solution. Everybody's working with a different problem set. How can we get back into those schools? How can we get those programs started again so that we can grow this program out? We're going to need somebody from each of those divisions. And what I'm looking for is somebody, frankly, who's just a little bit younger, somebody who's youth-oriented, somebody who's fit, somebody who doesn't mind getting up in front of people and speaking, somebody who doesn't mind communicating up and down the chain, giving the information that we need going up, publishing and disseminating the information that we need heading down. Somebody that can organize. You might be called upon to put on an event. The event itself is not rocket science. I mean, if you've organized anything in the Marine Corps, you can organize this meet just fine. We've got to make sure that we keep good scores, because these kids and these coaches take this stuff very seriously, and we know they're a professional product. But ultimately, I'll be looking for a partner at each division who I'll be brainstorming with, collecting information from, disseminating information to, and that's going to be a key component of moving this thing forward. And I'm going to turn to that in earnest after we conclude our successful national meet in May. But if that just struck anybody's heart, and you want to come see me afterwards and pledge fealty, come and talk to me, and we can run it through the leadership at the various levels to make sure that that's a good fit. Okay, so looking for those divisional representatives. And then ultimately shore up the program's infrastructure. What I mean by that would be, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, can Mr. Johnny Baker come in and pick up where I left off and not miss a beat? He could, because he's such a special individual and I'm brand new, right? But moving down the line, right, a year or two out, I'm not going to have this job forever. I want to be able to turn this over to somebody and have them pick up and have all the electronic documents and all the forms fillable and everything at their disposal so they can just be up and running with it, working with their divisional partners and making sure that we're presenting a product that's commensurate with 2024, 2025 and forward. So that's going to take a little bit of legwork, but that should be all invisible to you folks. And that's about it. So short-term goal, make sure that this meet in May goes off. I'm feeling pretty confident that that's gonna happen. Long-term goal, get some divisional partners. Confident the divisional partners are gonna come along. How much we're gonna be able to grow the program, we'll see. All right, we're gonna give it our best. We'll see. There are some resources on that website that I listed here. If you could, I guess the last slide didn't make it, but the last slide has my information on it. My organizational email is ypf@mcleague.org. So anybody here that has any ideas, comments, questions, critiques, feel free to hit me up at ypf@mcleague.org. And hopefully that organizational inbox will serve for my successor as well and provide us just a little bit of continuity. So those are my comments. I know there are some institutional memories with regard to this program, what it used to be like back in the 80s, what it used to be like in the 90s and the 2000s and all that. You know, this is now. And we have to work with the kids that we have in 2024. And those are presenting, I got a couple of them in my own darn household. All right, that presents individual challenges. We're going to be doing our best to work with those, but I'll take any and all ideas, any and all recommendations. This year's stuff, the stuff that's on the short-term slide is kind of already in motion, not a heck of a lot I can do to influence that. We kind of just got to execute at those parts of the planning. But moving forward, this summer and moving into next year, moving into next year's nationals, how to structure the program, ideas on how to get to schools, ideas for partners out in the civilian community, I'm all ears. So if there's any questions that are good for the whole group, fire away. I think we got another minute or two. If not, I will look to hang out in the lobby for a couple minutes. If anybody approaches me, I'd be happy to shoot the breeze with you, but I have to catch a flight. Yes, sir.
Got it? Okay. Jim Mavers, Department of Missouri, Midwest Division. Do you need any volunteers for this year's event?
So right now, this year's event in Little Rock, Arkansas, there is a base just north of Little Rock that we used last year for some uniformed junior enlisted folks who came out and served as judges. And that worked out great, in my estimation, because you got these 22, 23-year-old Marines, most of whom are pretty fit and pretty motivated, judging, the high school kids. So they're real close in age there, and they did a great job. So I thought that was a nice thing. We're going to use them again. Johnny Baker reached out to the local Marine Corps League detachments and got some good support. So we're going to have some Marine Corps League folks out there, help them keep score and help them do whatever else and showing the cloth. So I think we're all set on volunteers for this year's event in Little Rock in May. But certainly down the line, as we look to figure out where's the right spot for the national meet, everybody likes San Diego, but nobody wants to pay for the flight from New York City to San Diego. We're going to try to find that sweet spot. And Missouri, not a bad, geographical center of the country. How easy is it to access the spots from the airport? How many hotels are there? How willing are they to work with us? Can we find a place where it's completely indoors so that we aren't beholden to the weather? That also seems to be a big consideration for where to put the meets. So those are just a couple of things that are bouncing around my head, but thank you. I think we're all right for this year's meet in Little Rock in May.
Sean, ask them to send you an email and they need you to get hold of.
Yeah. You have my email, right? Anybody here wants to reach out and say, hey, this is who I am, this is where I'm from. If you end up swinging up this neck of the woods, please let me know. I'd be happy to show you my detachment, my division, my whatever. I'd happily take your name and number on board and keep in touch with you as things develop.
Also mention your going toward the recruiters. Mention that.
So, I don't know all the ins and outs of how this program developed. I've read all the documents, but I wasn't there. This surely, a large part of this was to get the Marine Corps into schools. All right? Yeah, we want the kids to be fit. Yeah, we want the kids to have something to do with their bodies. Yeah, we want the kids to stay off drugs and booze and smokes and everything else. But at the same time, we want to fulfill our recruiting mission. So, one of the ways that we can get back into the schools, I think, now that the program has aged and has drifted from the memories of many of those school administrators, most likely, is through the recruiters. So the recruiters are young, and the recruiters are talking to the students, and I think that the recruiters we could partner with McRick to have the recruiters carry a little bit of the YPF water as well when they're doing their recruiting mission. I know they already got a pretty heavy pack. So I'm very sensitive to that, and we're gonna have some discussions with some leaders at McRick on how and if we can work together. But we need to figure out ways to get into the schools. And so if we don't have a trusted agent in the form of some coach or some school administrator, then how are we gonna get in front of those kids? You know, maybe the recruiters are another way that we can get in front of them, but we have to work that out. There's some coordination needs to be done there. I don't wanna make any bold pronouncements on it, how I'm gonna be using McRick's recruiters, because that's a good way to get shot in the face.
Morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Bruce Godin, RDU, North Carolina. I work with the junior ROTC, and a lot of the kickback that I'm getting at the junior ROTC level is, I don't want my kids in the military. And if we come across as looking at pulling the kids in, a lot of the parents are gonna push back, and some of the school administrators are doing the same thing. Just something to look at. Maybe we can come in from a different angle, rather than the Marine Corps is here to make them better and help, but not go on far from that. My opinion.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's coming from North Carolina, you know, not San Francisco. So, I hear you loud and clear. I would be surprised if the families and kids in the JROTC programs didn't want anything to do with the military. That wouldn't make a lot of sense to me, but hey, we'll see. I'm happy to take any recommendations. Again, everybody has my email now. Feel free to fire it away, and I will read it and get back to you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
The Commandant, Jim Toohey, past National Commandant. Some of us in different schools are asked to come in there during Veterans Day and speak to the students. I know I have for the last 3 years. And so I have a connection in the school. And I think that by going in there and starting out with showing them these certificates for youth physical fitness, I start with the band because they love recognition. So that's what I plan to do, and it'd just be a suggestion for anybody else. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I forgot to mention that you should see some certificates distributed amongst yourselves on those chairs. And we've got apparently an entire Raiders of the Lost Ark warehouse full of these certificates that we are trying to get rid of. And so, like this gentleman said, those certificates are some pretty good looking things. And if that is another angle that we can leverage in order to get in front of these kids, then great. And when we go out to these schools and we take those speaking engagements, like most of us do, I would hope that the YPF is something that would come to your mind and say, hey, for anybody who any physical guys out there, any physical gals out there, you could throw that out a little bit. Once I get this website looking as good as it should be, then you can just refer them to the website. And that will be a nice smooth transition and way to get the program in front of more people. So that's a good suggestion. Thank you.